All right, let's talk about the housing market. For what feels like forever, it's been this impossible puzzle, right? But what if I told you the pieces are maybe, just maybe, starting to fit together? We're going to dive into some fresh data from Zillow and Redfin and try to answer the big question, is 2026 the year things finally turn around?
I mean, this is the question, isn't it? It's the one that's on everyone's mind. Whether you're desperately trying to save up for that first home or you're a homeowner wondering if now's the time to make a move. Is some real, actual relief finally on the way? So the answer? Well, it's not a straightforward yes or no. But what's clear is that something is shifting. You can feel it in the air. After a long, kind of brutal winter for the market, we're finally starting to see the first signs of a thaw. Okay, but before we jump into all the optimistic new data, we've got to take a quick look back. We need to remember the absolute pressure cooker this market has been. The squeeze over the last few years has been intense, and it really sets the stage for everything that's happening now. You know the story. It was just this perfect storm of craziness. Prices were through the roof, mortgage payments looked terrifying, and there was practically nothing for sale. It didn't matter if you were trying to buy or sell. It just felt like the entire market was frozen solid.
But, and this is a big but, things are starting to look different. Zillow's latest numbers for January 2026 are giving us that first real glimmer of hope we've been waiting for. And it all comes down to the one word every buyer wants to hear: affordability. And here it is, the big headline number. Your typical monthly mortgage payment, it's down 8.4% compared to this time last year. Now, that's not just some random statistic on a page. That is actual real money that stays in your pocket month after month. So you're probably asking, how did that happen? Well, it really boils down to one simple thing: interest rates. The average rate for a 30-year fixed mortgage has dropped from almost 7% down to just over 6%. And let me tell you, that little 1% drop creates a huge ripple effect across the entire market. Let's put that into real dollars and cents. For a typical home in the US, assuming you put 20% down, that monthly mortgage payment, we're talking just principal and interest, is now sitting at about $1,733. That is a noticeable, tangible difference for a family's budget. It's real relief. Okay, so cheaper mortgages means the market's about to explode, right? Everyone's going to be out there buying? Well, not so fast. This is where it gets interesting. When you really dig into Zillow's numbers, the picture is, let's just say, a lot more complicated than that. All right, take a look at this. This chart is really the key to understanding what's going on. On one hand, you've got home values softening just a tiny bit, and inventory is up, which means more choices for you. That's good news. But on the other hand, fewer sales are actually closing, and homes are just sitting on the market for longer. So what does that all mean? It means it's a better environment for buyers, for sure, but the market as a whole is still kind of stuck in slow motion. And that brings us to the million-dollar question, doesn't it? If affordability is getting better and there are more houses to choose from, why aren't we seeing this huge comeback? Why isn't the market roaring back? Yeah, it's a real puzzle. All the pieces for a healthy market seem to be falling into place, but the engine just isn't firing on all cylinders. So to find that missing piece, we have to zoom out. We need to look beyond just the housing stats and think about the wider economy. And that's exactly where Redfin's analysis really sheds some light. See, what Redfin points out is something that's easy to forget. The housing market doesn't exist in its own little bubble. Your decision to buy or sell a home, one of the biggest financial decisions of your life, is tied directly to how you feel about the economy as a whole. Your job, your savings, all of it. And what they're seeing right now is a whole lot of hesitation, and it's on both sides of the deal. You've got buyers who are nervous about their jobs or the economy in general, so they're being cautious. And then you have sellers who see that caution and they're thinking, maybe I'll wait to list my house until there are more eager buyers out there. It basically creates this weird market standoff where everyone is kind of waiting for someone else to make the first move, all because of that economic uncertainty. So, where does that leave us? We've got these two forces pushing against each other. Affordability is getting better, but the economy feels a little shaky. So what do the experts at Zillow and Redfin predict for the rest of 2026? Well, Zillow's chief economist really nails it. The two words you need to remember are gradual improvement. That's the name of the game. So don't go expecting some sudden boom or a crazy frenzy of activity. This is going to be a walk, not a sprint. Just a slow, steady climb back. And Redfin's head of economics research ties it all back to the big picture. You can't have a truly healthy housing market without a healthy economy.
So if the broader economy can achieve that soft landing everyone's talking about, getting inflation under control without a big recession, that's the shot of confidence the housing market really needs to get going.
So, when you put it all together, the consensus from both Zillow and Redfin is actually pretty clear. The deep freeze we've been in, it's over. But don't break out the sunscreen expecting a summer heat wave just yet. What we're looking at here is a gradual thaw. Things are definitely improving, but it's going to be slow and steady.
Which means the big question for you is no longer if the market is going to get better. It's how you're going to play your cards during this slow recovery. In a market that's thawing out but not yet boiling over, what's your next move?